friends. It's Carly, and this is another episode of the I Learned podcast. Hello, it's good afternoon this day, which is a little strange, but for a really cool reason. I'm actually having a really awesome day because this morning, my morning time momentum it gave me this idea that then I basically sat at my computer and worked on the idea and got it most of the way done, which is kind of the point of my story. Uh, it took me like 5 hours to do it, and I sat there and just chugged right along and just one thing after another, just did all the pieces, and it was so much fun. Oh my goodness, it was so much fun. Um, like I said, though, I didn't do it all. There is still a chunk, probably another hour that I need to spend to do like one more piece of it. Uh, and it's so awesome because that's a perfect example of a time when I look at it and I'm like, well, that looks like fun for another day. And there's always more. There's always more days. There's always more fun to have. So, we don't have to have all the fun. We don't have to do all the things. Right here in this red hot minute, I did most of it. I had fun. I followed the energy wave that came. Oh my goodness, this one little idea. I've been thinking about this event series for a while. Uh, and if you have been following along, so my spotlight series, I pick a different piece of the natal chart each month and do small group readings with people. So it's like 20 bucks a seat and there's only a few people in the group. And I've done that for the last few months. And the way, basically, I want to tell the story of like how this event series came to be, first of all, and how it has unfolded and changed and grown and adapted, and all the little things along the way that made it what it is. Because this morning I spent 5 wonderful hours creating my series. It's going to be more than a month. It'll be April and May, and it's the next installment of my Spotlight series, and it'll be over the midheaven. And so, anyways, none of that's really the point. The fun part, the fun piece of it is the story of how this Spotlight series came to be. Um, and so to tell that story, I have to back up a few months. At the end of 2020, when I very first started doing meetup groups, the first kinds of events that I put on there were astrology group conversations, meaning that, everyone is going to chat about astrology. And it was fun. It was very fun, especially considering when I started doing that, I had never offered a reading to anyone else before. So I mostly just wanted other people to talk to about astrology. However, once I started offering readings, that was way more fun, to offer readings, like specifically pull up natal charts and talk about specific things in the chart. So I shifted out of those group conversations, but at the very last one that I hosted, my friend Ethan, he asked one of his classic deep questions about his moon sign. And it was interesting because as he was asking it, like I said, it was such a deep question, and my thinking brain panicked for just a second and was like, I don't know the answer to this. Oh my God, what am I going to do? I don't know the answer to this. And something spoke to me, something came over me and said, it'll be okay. Just listen and then see if you can channel an answer. And so that's what I did. I just chilled out and relaxed. And when he was done talking, I cleared my brain, and like this explanation came out that was in response to the question or the energy that he had offered. And at the end of my explanation, which went on for several minutes, Jen, someone else who was at the event, she was like, wow, you should do a whole event just on moon signs. And in that moment, when she said that, my Spotlight series became visible to me, where, oh my God, I could totally do a whole event just on moon signs and like do a group style event where there's multiple people and, everybody shows up and I know ahead of time what their moon signs are and make sure I can talk about it in depth and like do a little bit about, what the moon is and in your natal chart, what the moon is. And then, like for each individual, give them a little reading. And so that was the initial idea. And I was going to have, charge $20 a seat and have 10 seats at each event. And I scheduled two for the moon sign sessions in January. So there's just a total of 20 seats available. And 4 people bought tickets to the first one. And I was kind of disappointed because I was like, well, crap, there were 6 other seats. Like, what could I have done to market it better or whatever? And I was like, you know what, whatever. Everything is always working out for me. That's a famous Abraham line. Everything is always working out for me. So these 4 people were obviously the perfect ones to be at this very first event in my Spotlight series. So, it's going to be perfect. It's going to be whatever it's meant to be. And so I walk into that event and then 2 people like don't show up. They have technical difficulties. The time zone was wrong. It wasn't on the calendar, whatever the case was. And so as it happened in the very first Spotlight event, I had 2 people there and it was absolutely fucking magical what happened in that session because the 3 of us then, myself and the 2 women who had bought tickets and arrived at the event, we had a magical conversation where they both shared a lot. And, my presentation part was only about 20 minutes. So they ended up each getting like a solid 45 to 50-minute individual reading. And they talked back and forth between each other and just in general, like resonated back and forth with each other. And so that was really cool to see as well, that like their relationship and their bond at that point, it went beyond just me and it extended to the other people who were present. So we had enough of an open dynamic for that energy to flow freely between all of us. And I walked out of that session going, wow, I think they're all supposed to be about this size. So I go for February when I did the North Node, South Node sessions. I changed it to where I scheduled 3 options and there were only 3 seats available at each option. And in that scenario, all 9 seats sold. And so I ended up adding a bonus session in February. I booked a 4th session on the calendar because people were trying to buy tickets after those 9 seats were gone. And the bonus session with 3 seats, that one sold out as well. So that went really well. So I was like, wow, I sold 4 events out. So maybe for March, I'll do 5 events and 3 seats each. So I expanded it. So we're in the middle of March right now. So far, the first 2 events, they sold out. And I have 3 more options that, we're still waiting to see how all that comes to fruition, but I'm feeling pretty good about it. So anyways, so I'm thinking, for the next one, I really want to do the midheaven, which is its own fun story all by itself, because I tend to attract a lot of Gemini midheavens, a lot of Pisces midheavens. I see them all the time. And it's fascinating because I have a Gemini sun and stellium, meaning I have other planets in Gemini along with the sun, and a Pisces North Node and Pisces Mars. So I feel like when it comes time to talk to a Gemini midheaven or a Pisces midheaven, I feel like a kindred spirit with them. I feel like I can really understand what it is that they're here to do. I mean, I feel somewhat connected to all the energies, but those 2 specifically, they show up in my life all the time. And so I wanted separately to even just do a midheaven event for a Gemini midheaven event specifically and invite the Gemini midheavens that I know. And then that went on to, well, wouldn't it be cool to bring together groups of midheavens around all the signs, not just Gemini, but all of them. And so that was a good idea. I really liked that. I had that about a week ago, but it didn't move forward because I was like, crap, that's like 12 different, it's like 12 different sessions. And like, you know, if somebody can't make it at the time that their session is, then they don't even get to come. So like that's kind of a, you know, that's why I like having multiple options. And so I just kind of left it like that's kind of bulky, and I don't really know how to move forward with that idea to have like, you know, an individual session for each individual midheaven. Um, so I just left it. And then this morning, after about 2 hours of morning time, I was feeling real good, real happy, feeling in the zone. And all of a sudden it occurred to me, oh my goodness, you could do the whole axis. The midheaven is the top of an axis, and the bottom is called the nadir, and it points to something equally fascinating as the midheaven does. So you could do the whole axis. So pair the signs into sister signs. I know we're getting real deep into my astrology rambling, but I hope this is making some sense. So yeah, I could pair the signs up into sister signs. So like Gemini and Sagittarius, Taurus and Scorpio, the signs that are always across from each other, just pair them together, because if you have a Gemini midheaven, that means you automatically have a Sagittarius nadir, and vice versa. So if I pair Gemini and Sagittarius, I could talk to Gemini midheavens and Sagittarius midheavens kind of all in the same group. And so once I had that idea, that was the beginning of the 5 hour ordeal where I was just like, I would say in the vortex, just creating like one piece after the next. I mean, it started in an Excel spreadsheet, of course. Like I'm a Capricorn midheaven. Pretty much everything starts with an Excel spreadsheet where I set up the dates for 20 of these events. And then I wrote the copy. So like the event description, that was really fun. And then I designed some graphics to promote the event. And on and on and on. I had, you know, scheduled 20 Zooms and all of those pieces to get it to where those events are now live on Meetup. So I feel like I kind of like, I definitely push myself to get it to where they were on Meetup. So they're not on Facebook yet. That's the part that I still need to go back and do, but I can do that at any time because I got this huge burst of energy to put all of this together. That idea to pair up the signs made it only 6 unique things, not 12. And that made it so much easier to be like, okay, well, I'll make 3 options for each one and easy peasy, there you go. So that all just unfolds, you see. Like this is, I feel like this is a perfect example of how the art of allowing works. So Abraham Hicks teaches law of attraction, and that's where I learned it. There's a lot of teachers out there that teach law of attraction, but Abraham Hicks is who I listen to, and she talks about, she's renamed her work a few times over the years. I mean, it started off as the law of, or no, the science of deliberate creation. The science of deliberate creation. Science because it's always changing, deliberate because we get to choose, and creation because we each are the magnet that our reality forms around. And she's like, but then everybody was too neurotic and in their heads about like, oh man, I need to be super deliberate about every single thought I think, which is impossible, right? So anyway, so she changed the name, and I think it currently goes by the art of allowing. And allowing is the idea that you've already created it. That every time you go through a contrasting event, contrasting meaning negative, I'm doing air quotes around all of these things because there is no good and bad. It's all part of the whole. But every time you go through a contrasting event, you create what you want. You know in that moment of contrast what you don't want, and it automatically creates what you do want. And so all of those things that you've created along this lifetime and all the things that mass consciousness has created as a whole, it all exists in this vibrational reality that she calls the vortex. I feel like I'm just like parroting exactly out of an Abraham recording, but you get it. So all of this creation, it exists in vibrational reality, in the vortex. And the art of allowing is where you deliberately tune your frequency, which we've talked about before. You deliberately tune your frequency to the frequency of what's in your vortex. And as soon as your frequency matches the creation that's existing inside this vibrational reality, then it becomes manifest. It becomes real. It becomes physical. It materializes around you. And that is how I feel about this spotlight series. I mean, going back to the very beginning where somebody else's question gave me a moment of panic. I think that's a brilliant point to point out that that's how it started, was with a tiny moment of panic that I relaxed into to allow myself to channel the answer to his question. And somebody else who happened to be present, who was able to vocalize the idea that you should do a whole session just around moon signs. And in that moment of all of those cooperative components and all of those pieces coming together, all of a sudden something existed that didn't exist before. This idea in my mind of this spotlight series where we could just take turns doing individual pieces of the natal chart. And in that moment, the whole idea, the whole concept, the whole package, the whole structure, it existed in an instant. I didn't have to sit there and design what it was. It just was. And then, I told you the story of kind of how it grew and changed over time. And through the way it unfolded, it became what it was meant to be. And it's still unfolding. Like, I'm only 3 months in. I don't even know where this is headed and what it's going to lead to. But I do know, one of my main life goals right now is to support myself, meaning financially, using my spiritual business, offering my spiritual gifts to other people that would yield enough, plenty, of income so that I can pay for my living expenses. And I would love to allow even more money than that because I really love to travel. I really feel like a citizen of the world. I feel like my energy matches in lots of different places in a different way. And I love spending time in different countries. So yeah, I mean, I would love if I had enough money, quote unquote, just by doing my spiritual business, just by offering these things that just fall out of the sky, these ideas that are just born when somebody else says exactly the right thing in the right moment. And you can see this whole structure that now I've spent, hours and hours and hours doing these sessions these last few months and allowing it to unfold idea by idea. Because like this, March is even a perfect example of like when I initially wrote out the Spotlight series, I listed the first 3 months of like at that time, these were the best ones. I could see that these would be really interesting to get to do. The moon sign was first, North Node, South Node was second, and Saturn was third. And approaching March, where I should have done the Saturn event, all of a sudden it was like, no, Chiron. Chiron is what I need to do right now. And as soon as that idea came, it was an instant. It was hell yes energy, and kind of the same thing that happened this morning. The event copy, the graphics, the scheduling, the Zooms, all of it just like, and it was done. Like I didn't even have to try. It just happened. And bam, Chiron events are on the calendar. So I feel like that's my goal, and that's what I've learned how to do, is to stay open to like the next inspired idea and the next inspired idea. And I love this approach that I'm taking lately where I work like about a month at a time. Like I'm setting my sights and I'm planning and I'm making structure for the next few weeks. And then as I get into that and I live and I learn and I talk to people and I soak up what's around me and I point myself on purpose and I deliberately try to feel better than my average often. I try to raise my frequency often, like every single day, I try to raise my frequency. So it only makes sense that as I raise my frequency every single day, I'm going to have access to better and better and better ideas. So I love this, that as this is a huge leap forward, because if you think about it, there's 20 events. I'm also upping it to 8 seats per event because everybody who shows up is there to learn about the same thing. So like this session is for Gemini midheavens and Sagittarius midheavens. So whether you have that or not, you're welcome to come to any of the events, but we're there to talk about those two things. And so because it's so specific, I know I can allow more people because we're all going to be focused on the same signs, where, like right now, like Chiron event, for example, there's only 3 seats, but I run the risk of every single person in the event has a unique Chiron placement in a unique house. And that happened on the last one. So that means I have 6 pieces of research to do before that event, which is great. But I know I can't allow more than 3 people and really devote the time that I need to give them an individual understanding of what that means for them. So this way I can have 8 seats at each event, and there's 20 of them. So now I have 160 seats at these events for this series. So the Spotlight series continues to grow. I'm so excited to like, finish out this month with my Chiron series or sessions. And like, I am taking the first couple weeks of April off. I don't have any events planned for then, so I'm going to take some downtime and then get into these midheaven events. So that is, oh gosh, I'm so excited. I think it's pretty clear how excited I am. That's like all I want to think about. That's all I want to talk about. I feel so satisfied and productive, and like the first event isn't even for a month, and I already have this done. I didn't have to plan to do this. It wasn't something that I tried to make myself do. It was something that literally fell out of me like an unexpected burp. Like, there that is. like a hairball, like a cat, like coughing up a hairball. I just coughed up an event series for 5 hours, like it just was in there and then it just came out and it was easy. And that's what the vortex unfolding, that's what the art of allowing feels like, is it's all easy. It's the path of most fun. And that's another reason that I'm excited to have learned all of this, because when I got far enough into it where my energy was starting to kind of wane and I was getting tired, and like I've accomplished enough to where I feel really satisfied. So like the cost benefit is kind of like, slipping off in the wrong direction. And I'm like, okay, that's a good stopping point for today. That creating all the Facebook events, that can just be fun for another day. That'll be an inspired idea for another day in the perfect time of whenever I need to make those. And just let myself be done, So I'm done for the day. Well, I guess technically this was supposed to be my day off, but see, that's why the day off that's why the day off is tricky, because when the energy comes, I try to take advantage of it. And that's why, the 2 weeks in the front of April, it's really necessary, because that way if I schedule, like 14 days off, like maybe I'll really take like 4. So that's definitely the idea. That went by so fast. That was 22 and a half minutes of excited rambling. Just telling you what I did today. And I don't know if that counts as something that I've learned. I think there was some of that in there. There was lots of talk. Like always, it's just a big blur what I've even said. I'm going to have to listen to it. I don't listen to my episode until after I publish it, because otherwise I second guess myself to death, which if you ever are creating anything, that's that process of critiquing your work. You can stall out and never publish anything. So yeah, these episodes, they go straight to air and I listen after the fact, with the rest of everyone else. So we'll all get to see what I said together. Like always, I'll see you on the next one. Have a good rest of your day. Okay, bye.